Let's go to the north side of London with Tottenham. Tottenham and West Ham fans both held a joint protest against changes to concession prices. Is that likely to have actually any impact?
Well, the consumer is important, obviously, and that is the one area that if you don't buy your beers and your pies at half time, then yes, the clubs have got to change some sort of pricing at some stage. It's just it isn't that big a part of the revenue for the clubs these days, but nevertheless, it's still something that they have to consider and they have to get it right. I do think that the prices have been too high. We've got issues. We don't know what the budget that's coming in Britain here on the October 30th from the Chancellor of the Exchequer. We don't know how that could also impact those sort of things as well. So look, we've got to keep an eye on this because I think in the next couple of weeks, that's a key area, particularly if there's anything in the budget that could increase prices for alcohol or for other areas, that clubs are going to have to handle that. And it's going to have to start to be looked like almost like a service to fans rather than a profit centre. And that's where I think the shift has got to be. There's a lot of clubs in the NFL now, as I understand in the States, who are really pricing their food franchises at a very low level as a service to the fans and to get them in the stadiums earlier and make them stay later, rather than actually making it a profit centre. They're doing it almost at cost. And so there may have to be a change in attitude with that, and look at other ways that clubs can gain revenue, because I do think that's part of the match day experience, and I think it's a shame if it just becomes profit gouging, and that's where the clubs have got to be very careful. But it's going to take a mind shift and a way to replace that revenue stream before they can put that into action.
I'll tell you where they're not doing that in the NFL. That's in New York. I can promise you that we are not getting any cut price deals on any food. I think a hot dog is now like $16.
Wow.
Um, Apparently, the new Tottenham chief commercial officer was present at Leaders Week, the biggest annual conference for sports business professionals in London. He was listed as one of its attendees. Any inkling to who might be taking that role? Because we still don't have a name in that role yet.
No, I think that would have been, when the promoting the conference before, they would have put that in there that they'd hoped somebody would be in place and would attend. I've got no information as to who that's going to be. I'm afraid I've been looking at the bench and the squad that's lining up rather than the COO of Spurs. It'll be a good appointment. I'm sure Daniel seems to do well, but he never seems to hang on to people for very long, either in the commercial area or in the operational area. It seems to be a pretty quick turnover of just 2 or 3 years for each position. I'm sure we'll hear in due course. It's one of those areas you need to have in place as quickly as possible. And I'm sure that they're in the final stages of making an appointment, but I'm afraid no names I can give you today.
And we know Daniel Levy's a big talker in the media when he likes to be, and he mentioned more recently that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium could host a Super Bowl in the future. How likely is this possibility?
I really think it is possible. I was talking to a couple of guys across for the NFL games, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, Will, but I think there's like 7 or 8 cities that are on the rota for the Super Bowl.
For the most part, yes.
Yeah, and I think they would add London to that. And so I think if it was every 7th or 8th time, London would be an option. I think it would be attractive for the fans. I think it would be. They've got to get the timing right though with the time change. And if you've got the West Coast, you can't play it at 1:30 in the afternoon in the UK. It's going to have to be late evening for the West Coast viewers. But I think the fans to be able to come to London, and I'm not saying this is every season. This is just going to be a one-off every 7 or 8 years. I think it could be a great attraction. I think they've enjoyed the experience they've had so far. I had friends come across from Miami from the Dolphins game when they played a couple of seasons ago. Everybody's really enjoyed it, and there's a lot of fans that do want to come and make the holiday out of it. Super Bowl, I mean, it's going to be in a bad weather time of year, obviously in January. So that's something they'll have to wrap up for. But I do think it would be a spectacle that could play well. And we're just seeing today as well, the Liga announcing a Barcelona game or Atletico Madrid games in Miami, proper league games, for the first time. So I think it's good to have this international exchange of games, and I think a lot of fans would like to make that trip to London and make it a really special Super Bowl event.
It's interesting, right? Because I'm not sure, how many people who are listening to this know this, but the Super Bowl atmosphere at games is usually not that great because it's not usually fans of either team, and it's a bit kind of corporate. And so you might think if it's in London and you get a lot of London fans and people from that side of the world who've never had a chance to go to a Super Bowl, you could actually get a pretty incredible atmosphere.
You're absolutely right. Look, we know it's been very quiet Super Bowl, as you say. It's mainly sponsors and corporate, etc. I think that London might give it a bit of a shot in the arm and get some good noise going over there. So it's good for a change. You need to freshen things up, and you can imagine. We know Super Bowl lasts for a week or 2 weeks in preparation with all the broadcasts coming. They'd have a lot of new material to work on from London, and I think that would be good for the viewer as well. And of course, big viewership, as we know. And I think there could be some really clever marketing things as well with the halftime show and with the ads for Super Bowl. So I think it would be fresh, and I think it would be good for it. And I think that Spurs Stadium would be a popular event.